Yes.
They got a little bit deeper pockets, so they have access to wealth, they have access to resources and access to people.
Right.
And then, of course, there's the on the other type where these guys are social entrepreneurs, where all they care about is changing something that's good for society, regardless of financial gain or loss. So not all entrepreneurships are after financial success. Some of them are looking for moving up the social ladder, or some of them may be looking at doing good for the environment, or somebody might be looking to make an existing big company bigger, and some of them are using entrepreneurship for financial gain. So the end result of entrepreneurship is not necessarily financial. It could be social, it could be activism. There's many facets to entrepreneurship.
Okay, that's right. What does entrepreneurship in the realm of capitalism, particularly, because capitalistic approach society is what we're talking about. How does capitalism fit into, or how does human nature connect with the capitalistic viewpoint? What do you say about that?
Well, capitalism by definition is free exchange of goods and capital and money and resources without too much bureaucratic or government influence or interference. Capitalism is a system where all parties have an equal chance of success, where one party isn't state-sponsored and one party doesn't have unfair advantages. And those are the exact same things that entrepreneurs need for success. It's hard to be successful when you're fighting a state-sponsored or a company that's run by the government. Because they have the might of the government, they have the might of social policy, government policy, they have the might of everything that they may require to success.
Right.
So an entrepreneur is someone that needs an equal footing, an equal application of laws, an equal chance of success. And the only thing that differentiates one entrepreneur from the other is their ideas, their work ethic, their discipline, their grit, and not who is backing them.
Okay, right, of course. So there is definitely a great power in entrepreneurship. There is also the exploratory attitude. It's an attitude. It's an approach that is driven by wanting to provide something new, a different way, a more effective way of providing a service. Something like that is certainly there within the human condition. If you look at the number of business owners compared to number of employees is much greater than number of business owners. So those who are leaders, those who are innovators, those who have these different types of ideas about building new structures, new approaches, would you say that is not possible for most people, or do you think that there is a possibility, for most people to try something in entrepreneurship as opposed to just working somewhere?
Well, anybody can be a successful entrepreneur as long as they have the qualities and the discipline that's required for success. And one of the biggest characteristics of successful entrepreneurs is self-motivation.
Yes.
These guys get up in the morning and are motivated to go do whatever needs to be done. They don't need an external motivator,
Right.
like a spouse or a boss or the government or anybody else trying to force them to do that. So no, they just or most successful entrepreneurs have this self-motivation,
Yes.
which is the number one requirement to be a successful entrepreneur. So anybody can be a successful entrepreneur as long as they understand who they are, where they're coming from, and where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they are willing to take the risk that is required, as long as they are motivated and self-motivated, and as long as they have some basic skills, in terms of money management and financial, as long as they believe in their mission, as long as they are a people's person, as long as they know and understand the value of networking and how to be nice, and as long as they have a passion. Passion is important,
Right.
because motivation will only last you so long, and unless it's fueled by passion, motivation isn't going to last forever.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, so motivation that's fueled by passion. So, these are some of the qualities that are needed for developing. But if you kind of take a back step for a moment, someone who is just starting out, like as you said before, like maybe with a college degree or an associate's degree or something like that, and one of the points you made on several occasions was that there's really a certain ceiling financially, even with professional careers and jobs and whatnot. You make a 70,000, 80,000, 100,000, if you get there even, maybe go up the corporate ladder to some extent, maybe make 200, 300,000 if somebody gets there. But one of the points you made many times is that there really isn't an upper limit if one can get that track, open up such a track in developing a business that it just continues to expand and grow, which is what people want. Those who are entrepreneurs, they want that. So I want to try to tease this out a little bit. But you have a person who is working and is well educated, let's say, and is trying to progress in the corporate ladder or in some institution or whatever, but there's a ceiling there. There's a financial ceiling. Even as great as they may be, unless they start publishing books or, I don't know, unless they do something that is quite extraordinary and they make a lot of money doing that, usually there is just a ceiling. But one of the points you made is that you were never satisfied with that, and you wanted to not have such a ceiling. This was in your mind. If I remember correctly from the multiple conversations we had, you did not want that at all. Can you talk about it? I mean, first of all, is that correct?
Yes, of course.
That's correct,
Yes.
right? Let's go back for a moment. See if you can describe when you had that idea and why you had that idea. As opposed to most people in the world, they may want something like that, but they are either fearful of trying something like that, or they don't know how to try something like that, or in many cases they just need to work somewhere just to make ends meet and whatnot, and then they kind of just are just in that realm. That's it. But so there's something different happened within you that said, no, this is not good enough. Making 100,000 or 200,000 or 250 and be finished with that just didn't feel right to you. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Can you explain that some more? Because that's a key point. I think there's something really special there. Let's see if we can figure out what that is.
So I think the biggest thing that happened to me when I was at an age or that stage of my life was mentorship. I was working a job for somebody, and I was able to compare their lifestyle with the lifestyle that my peers, other people that were following the job track,
Yes.
would have gotten. And then comparing lifestyles and rewards, it just seemed that entrepreneurship had the best chance of success of getting me the lifestyle that I had wanted.
So
The
okay.
lifestyle that,
Oh, okay. So let's hold that thought just for a moment. So at that time, there was a vision of a certain type of lifestyle that could not be possible even with making $100,000 plus working somewhere.
yes,
Right? This was very clear inside.
yes.
Can you just talk about that some more? What tease that? See if you can distinguish that further.
Yes, so I had come to the realization that as long as I worked for somebody, I would not be in control of my destiny.
Okay, so that's another very important point too. So as long as I work for someone, the control of one's destiny is in somebody else's hands. This is one issue. The other thing is the lifestyle would be limited. What you could do in life in the material world, as we said before, is restricted by having restricted amount of money. Is that correct?
Yes.
These are two very important points. Okay, please continue.
So I wanted a flexible lifestyle that afforded me time with my family, time for my travel. At that point, I wasn't thinking about athletic stuff, but I was just thinking of, as my years went by, what is it that I would like to do?
Yes.
Do I want to sit in a cubicle doing data entry? No. What I wanted to do was spend time with my family, be outdoors, and doing things that made me happy, whatever they were. And I knew that if I worked for somebody, those things would never happen. For the simple reason that, owners and bosses look for productivity and they're constantly trying to squeeze everything they can out of you.
Yes.
And I came to the realization that the only way to be in control of my future was to make my own future. And entrepreneurship just was the only way I could do that. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. I wasn't the most talented person. I wasn't the most educated person. I wasn't the smartest guy. But what I had going for me was a willingness to risk whatever I had for a better future.
Uh-huh.
And I did that.
Okay. Yes. So let's see if we can understand a little bit further. There was a drive inside of you that says, "I want to have that higher lifestyle, but where higher amount of money available, finances available, would bring about much greater possibility of living life to its fullest." Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this was this became very potent in your mind. There's a potency to that.
Yes, very early on, I kind of understood that I was on my own. If I wanted to fulfill my dream, there's no daddy or there's no big brother to help me with my dreams, and I would have to figure out my way along the way.
Right. Okay. Very good. So that's what I want to ask you. When you had those thoughts, how strong were those thoughts? Because see, the reason before you answer, many people have that kind of thing. They want to be financially free. They want to be well off. They want to have a lot of money saved. They don't want to have to worry about checking prices every time to buy something. They want that kind of financial freedom. They want the luxurious life. So this is what so many people in the world are looking for, this kind of thing. But inside of you, without being born with a silver spoon in your mouth, this kind of very powerful drive, motivation, clarity about it's something special happened there. And I was wondering if you could describe that a little bit more. What sparked that, or describe that spark?
So the biggest spark for that was a simple realization that I wasn't at the top of the ladder in terms of my academics and educational stuff. A realization that if I wanted to go the job track, I would be competing with other people that that were a lot smarter than me, and they had done the right things before that point. They had taken coaching classes, and they had followed the classic job track. They had done internships. So for me to leapfrog them would not have been possible. So the biggest motivator was how do I move on? How do I provide a livelihood for myself? And job just didn't seem like the best or the easiest option. Entrepreneurship, on the other hand, was something that I could control, was something that I felt very comfortable with. Entrepreneurship is not everything about what you did yesterday or what you do today. It is about how you will do things tomorrow.
Okay, so that's a good background. There's a lot more I do want to ask you about it, but I want to just take a step forward here. In selecting the kind of business that you selected, in the book that we want to write, there would be a selection process of the kind of business one wants to do. Now, obviously, it's based on supply and demand. It's a supply demand is all part of capitalism. It's part of economics. It's part of just the human condition. We need so many things. There's needs and wants and desires, and someone's got to fulfill them, right? I mean, this is the basic truth that's right in front of us. So, to be an entrepreneur, there has to be an understanding of the demand, and then, of course, the possibility of the entrepreneur providing the supply or a service or a product for those who are demanding whatever they're demanding. So the general question is, what is your understanding of supply and demand in relation to a new person wanting to be an entrepreneur? So if you could repeat my question, just to make sure we're on the same page, and then if you could please answer it.
Well, to think about supply and demand and how you would fulfill that supply and demand and come up with your chosen path towards entrepreneurship. And the big thing has got to be you understanding your strength. It's you knowing what you're good at and what you're bad, right? So if you're bad at programming, but you want to write a code that solves the problems of the world, it's going to be a very tough ask. You're going to be dependent on a lot of other people to make that happen.
Right.
On the other hand, if you were, a good carpenter, for you to come up with a design of a chair and then, making it happen, that's more possible. So, a big understanding of your strengths and weaknesses.
Yes. Oh, okay. So, very good. So there's a couple of things you mentioned. Strengths and weaknesses based on training background, that has to be very clear, because before one can develop a business, particularly if one is not just incorporating a business or just acquiring one from one's family, but it's really starting fresh, starting something new, fresh. It's a different ball game, obviously, and that requires that kind of a vision of how it could develop. So what is the kind of demand? What do people look for? How can I make it better? All those are the more specific things that come later on. But to even visualize what the business could be like is a big thing. I mean, I think people visualize, they want to be a millionaire. Like you said, you want, when I'll make my first million by age 27, like that kind of thing. They visualize that. Even that may not be so easy to visualize. I mean, people say, I want to be rich. Who doesn't say that? But to actually visualize the growth of the business in accordance with that financial goal, which then, of course, has very much to do with the quality of life and the quality of experiences that a person wants because there's so much more potentiality at that level. If someone has $2 million, $3 million, they can do a tremendous amount of different kind of activity in the world, have different experiences than someone who has $50,000. And so that's just the way the relative material world works, actually. So having said all of that, people who are starting out, assuming they're not just inheriting a business, like a child who's born with a silver spoon or platinum spoon in their mouth, they're already inheriting a pre-established business. That's a different matter. And even then, they have to, follow so many things to handle that. That's a different scenario. But someone or a group of people that are interested in starting some kind of business, and in doing so, the visualization of the growth of the business, like the opening of a flower. What was your experience in this? Because from what you've told me, your experience was working in the gas station for various people, in the convenience stores, etc. You learned that business as an employee for a certain period of time. You saved money from that. Then you got into partnership, and then the story continues. So you entered into a business where there is substantial demand for what the products are, gas and convenience store and quick, relatively low dollar items, under $10. These items are sought after. They are quick, they're fast, it's a fast revolving process. At least this is what I understand here. You correct me if I'm wrong. So you tapped into something that masses of people need, and or would like to get. As opposed to tapping into something that very few people might want, but it's possible. But if those few people are really going to provide a larger amount of income, then maybe that's the way to go. So the question is really about selecting the path, about what to do next. So someone wants to have a business. There are thousands of kinds of businesses, but how does one go through the selection process of what to do? So there's many answers to this question, but and you went through it yourself, so maybe, I don't know how you want to answer that, just maybe brainstorm it out a little bit and see what comes out from that.
I always liken starting a business to pushing a car or a truck that's at a standstill. Initially you will be doing a lot of pushing, and things aren't going to move, or it's going to move very, very slowly. And, you're going to be really tired, and, you're going to have to take a break and then come back and start pushing again.
Right.
And if you push hard enough, if you push long enough, that car will surely move. And once it starts moving, it gains momentum.
All right, so hold on one second. When you say if you if you push hard enough and if you push long enough, that means what you're saying is not to give up on that, to keep at it day in and day out. So let's just stay with that for a moment. It seems like when that is going on, there is an energy present there. There is a certain kind of power that is present that seems to take hold with a tremendous amount of confidence, with a how can I say this? It's a power that allows you to keep going for so many hours a day, thinking of new ways, new ideas, and there is not even the thought of a fallback. I think something like that is going on. You tell me if that's true or not.
Yes, exactly. So, once you commit, then you follow up with it. And, from time to time, of course, you do your checks and make sure things are on track.
Yes.
But the biggest thing is not to give up at the first sign of failure or disheartened by the first time you don't get the ball rolling. Okay,
so I have a question about that. You just used the word disheartening. You see, a lot of people want very quick results. They want something right away. They want something fast. They want it to move very quickly. And it may not necessarily be the case. This is a whole different ballgame. It's very different from working in a pre-established company. There's a fixed paycheck. There's a fixed income. There's a health insurance provided. There's things there's a certain security there. But in the initial phase that you're describing, people can get disheartened, they can get afraid, they can say, how can I keep up with this? I'm put so much money into this. There's a lot of different type of confusion or disheartening, as you said so correctly, that could happen, right? So how does a person get through that? Because that's going to happen from time to time. You've gone through it also.
So whenever you start a business, before you start it, you need to do your homework and come up with a business plan.
Yes.
And in your business plan, you need to be very, very realistic on how long it will take you to push that car to get it moving. It's not going to happen instantaneous. And you have to realistically look at your strengths, the market conditions, and your efforts, and what can you contribute to those efforts.
Yes.
So having a plan is very, very important. So, if you're starting a business and part of that plan is that, you won't be able to get any dividends of that business for a year, then you still have to figure out how you're going to live for a year. And you have to have enough savings and planning for that 1 year. So people sometimes get in line without understanding or making a business plan. Or sometimes people just don't budget enough for that 1 year, and within 6 months end up losing everything they have, and there's no way to go forward.
Because they say that a large number of small businesses fail within like 1 or 2 years or something like that. I mean, the failure rate is pretty high. I don't know exactly what, I'll have to look it up, but that's what I've heard. And I don't know, you might know the statistics off the top of your head, what the failure rate is of small businesses.
I don't know the exact numbers, but anecdotal evidence suggests that the initial phase is the toughest phase.
Yes.
Because you've spent the funds, you've committed the time, and you haven't gotten the return. And you're always comparing yourself to somebody that gets a salary, and if you work, let's say, 6 months on your venture and not gotten anything, and spent a couple $100,000 trying to get it set up, you compare that to somebody that's working for somebody that hasn't spent any dime.
Yes.
And on the contrary, has received 6 months of compensation with paid holidays and all that. And all of a sudden, it just seems that you're the dumb guy and they're the smart guy.
Right. So, go ahead, please. Please go ahead.
But it's important to, budget all that in your business plan.
Right.
If you budget all that in your business plan, then you kind of foresee it. You kind of understand it's coming.
Yes,
and
exactly.
you're able to, get through it because you know that, you've seen it before, and you say, okay, this is exactly what we thought was going to happen, and we're on track, and we will continue on that track.
See, this is very interesting. Let's go back for a moment to the supply-demand question. The demand and supply, this is the base of the whole economic process. If there is a demand, there needs to be a supply. When we use the word demand, that refers to wanting, desire, experience of getting something tangible, getting something that is going to create an experience or create health, fulfill needs, fulfill wants, fulfill basic instincts, so many things. There's so many demands in the human condition. It seems to me that the entrepreneur needs to clearly understand the demand that is there in the human civilization, in the society. The clarity of the demand needs to be there. And then, and so that's one question. Can you say something about that clarity of the demand? That's one question. Question after that would be, okay, if you are clear about the demand, who is fulfilling that demand now? And how are they fulfilling the demand now? Second question. And then the third question would be, where does the new entrepreneur fit into the current scheme of those who are trying to fulfill that demand? Now, is there could be demands that are really not fulfilled by anybody, or they're not fulfilled adequately. So I'll give you my own example. I was a therapist and counselor and director of various organizations. I did a lot of different stuff in social services. What I can tell you is a new program that I've developed, Energy Personal Excellence program. There, it is a highly integrated program that, as far as I know, nobody has developed anything like that. That really looks at motivation and philosophy and psychology and personal energy and develop. It looks at so many different pieces all pulled together. It's more than like a coaching program and all that. It's more than a therapy program. It has so many different angles that are all synthesized together. That came to my mind kind of out of necessity, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. So that came into my mind, and I developed it, and then I'm still developing it further. What's interesting is that's an example of my really thinking outside the box, tapping into what people are looking for relatively low dollar amounts, but providing them something that is so wonderful that they can actually experience the transformation, change, etc. Which is much more than what is generally available. This example I'm giving you, and again, this is just it's just an example of something that is created to fulfill demands that are not being fulfilled. So demands are there. People want better mental health, better good quality life. They want balance. They want high energy. They want all those things. But to actually go through a sequential process of getting there and staying there tends to be very difficult, if not nearly impossible. People are just going in cycles. And I've seen it my whole professional career. So again, that's so what I'm trying to do in some way or other is to develop something that and is being developed that is different from what anybody else has actually even actually ever put out there. So that's like category number 3. So there's A, B, and C. The category number 1 is how does a person fit into a pre-established structure and be an entrepreneur? Category number 2 is how does one improve upon what's in the pre-established structure? And category number 3 would be how does an individual provide something that is much more evolved and at a different level than what's available right now at all. So this is kind of my thinking about this, and I just want to hear your thoughts about this. About demand. So this was a question about demand, identifying demand.
Yeah, that identifying the market need.
Yes.
Or demand is very, very important, because if you can't provide a service that the market needs, then there's no value to it.
Exactly.
And ultimately, you want to create value. The whole idea of entrepreneurship is to make things better. Make things better for yourself, make things better for other people, make things better for society, make things better in general for everybody around you.
Very nice.
And identifying demand it's a bedrock of entrepreneurship. People that have not identified the demand right and gone down a path that led them to a place where even when they achieved what they wanted to achieve, there were no takers for that.
Exactly.
You want to create
please.
something that has value.
So
Value
yes.
for yourself, value for other people, value for society.
So when you use the word value, as I hear that, what that means to me is that value is where a person gets a product or a service that takes their life forward. I mean, literally, whether it's a gallon of milk or milk, bread, eggs, potato, basic grocery items that we need to survive. I mean, that takes my life forward. If I go to the grocery store and I buy 15 items, that's going to take my life forward. If I take a course at a university, that's going to give me knowledge and take my life forward. So it's all about what we mentioned before about progression versus regression, and then getting out of stagnation. So across the human condition, everybody is trying to progress further in different ways, from survival to more psychological satisfaction to different experiences of life. It's all about providing living human beings, different kinds of experiences and services that are possible to experience in the human body. That's the general idea. But to do so, I mean, in a way that a person taps into the wanting of the individual. I mean, here's an example. If you take the pornography industry as an example, multi-billion-dollar industry, it's incredible. It's incredible because in my study of psychology and social sciences and all this, and addictions also, I actually wrote the book on human sexuality and all that thing. What I found in that is that you take a basic process, basic drive that is built inside the brain, the sexual drive, and if you look at the development of pornography from the 1960s, like late 1960s till right now, the development is just unbelievable, in terms of the quality and the different types of the categories. It's growing continuously. Now it's grown to such a point that there is so much free material there, and still people are pouring billions into it. That speaks to the fact that there is a demand for experience that is a potent, energetic, some kind of an intense experience. And the more the intense the experience, the more money goes into it. So, and this is true even with like food items. I mean, if you go to a bakery, if you get an ice cream cake and you get 3-layer and 4-layer and put more the icing in there, it's going to cost you 30-40% more than just your regular yellow cake. Yellow cake is good, and brown cake is good, or chocolate cake, but you get a really nice fancy one. It's a much more qualitative experience. It's going to be more expensive and is sought after also. So there is a great psychology, there is a great understanding of desire and human needs that needs to be there in entrepreneurship. So these are some of my thoughts. I wanted to hear what you have to say about even what I said right now, and I want to hear what you have to say about this. So
that is right. Return is always based on the need and the desire and the demand for your services. And once again, it's important to understand what you're good at, what the market needs, and finding something that meshes together.
Yes.
Something that aligns your strengths with market demands, and that's when you're going to get the maximum needs. If you can identify the right market trend,
yes,
and align it with your strengths.
Right. Okay. So just on that point, you've also mentioned before, Ricky, when we were doing the recordings for the Vitamin M book, you've mentioned about values. A person who has, depending on the value system, belief system, energy flows through that, and that's going to be a driving force for what is going to be provided. I mean, someone like me is passionate about helping people and finding new ways of having humanity progress and all that. That's been in my mind since I was in high school. I mean, that's never changed. But someone who is, someone who is running a porn site. I mean, I hate to keep using that example, but just as a contrast, and is having and is making a lot of money through that, or even these online gambling sites, or I don't know, whatever. I mean, something that is really it's legal, legal, it's legal, but maybe for that person has no issue with running something like that. But someone like me would say, oh my God, I mean, I can't spend even a second doing anything like that. That's just, I can't even, my life is too short. My whole value system is totally different from something like that. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just, I mean, I would never be able to develop that kind of business. It's just not in my nature. So it seems to me that you are talking about an intensity that aligns with values, with talent, with training and experience, and that connects with an external need. And it also seems to be, based on what I've heard from you from the last several months, that all of that is done in a win-win situation. In fact, in your podcast number 3, you described it very well. It's an excellent recording, of the win-win situation and identifying energy multipliers and all those kinds of things. So This is the kind of combination that is in your mind, if I'm not mistaken. Would you say something about this?
Yes, it's all part of aligning your strengths with market demands. If your value system is aligned, if your value system is part of your strength, value system
Right.
is what makes you stronger on moments when there's doubt and tiredness and all the negative emotions come up, and
Yeah.
they do come up for everybody.
Yes.
So during those dark moments, what supports you is your value system, is your belief system. And if what you're doing is against your value system and your belief system, then during tough moments, those things aren't there to give you support.
Right.
Chances of success diminish at that point. So you need to be able to use all your strengths to achieve your goal, and your value system is part of your strength.
Would you say, in your own experience perhaps, that when you had that intense clarity, that passion to set that goal that I'm going to make my first million, and you didn't say I'm just going to make $1 million, you used the word first. So I was very attentive to that, to your every word there, that it is indicative of this ever expansive growth, because it's all relative, right? I mean, you've got billionaires out there also. There's not that many of them, but they're there. Like $1 million compared to $1 billion is a massive difference, actually. 1 billion versus 1 million, 1 million versus 10,000. These are all, 10,000 versus $100, $100 versus a penny. I mean, so there is this incredible gradation, and in your mind, it seems that there was such a spark of clarity that this is going to happen. This is how I'm going to make it happen through a business entrepreneur approach. And it aligns with my value system, aligns with my energy. And it seems like a tremendous amount of energy got activated at that point to say, this is it. And then even when the ups and downs and all those things happen, you never deviated from any of that. You found new ways, to keep this alive. This is what I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
I'm beginning to get to know you pretty well, my friend. So there you go.
Look, I've always believed, like the example I gave you of pushing a car.
Yes.
Starting something is the hardest thing to do. And I've always believed that the first million is always going to be the hardest one.
Yes.
Because, while you're in your journey for first million, not only are you pushing, but you're also learning and there's many things going on.
Yes.
So by the time you get to that million, the ball is rolling a little bit, you're a little bit wiser, you've made some connections, you have a network, and you kind of have a routine, and you've worked a few things out.
Right. Of course. And you're describing, the state after accomplishing such a big goal. And there, I'm sure there is a tremendous amount of satisfaction and euphoria and all kinds of emotions are there when such a goal is achieved. For the first time in one's life, isn't it so?
Yes, the first one is the most gratifying, actually.
Yes, of course. So that's a success story. Now, let's go back for a moment. The understanding of the demand and all of the different qualities that are required, the understanding of market forces, who is providing similar service, how to deal with competition. These are things that you have gone through. You started the gas station and then you had a kiosk and all. I know the whole story. You went through working 16 hours by yourself. You had saved money, you had invested it. You described the story of the investments. There's also some risk in that, and you were able to take that kind of an investment risk and say, there's no way for me to actually get to the next stage until I do take some risk. So I think that's what you went through when you had your own, the station on Kirkwood Highway, and you had the kiosk, and there was only one employee, and that was only you, and it was only 16 hours a day, and you were saving money, and you were working continuously, and then eventually you had some good amount of money saved because of cutting all expenses from all sides, if I understand this correctly. And then from there, you could have stopped there. You could have just stopped at that one kiosk and that one gas station, and then continued that way, probably not have any debt or anything like that, and live the rest of your life just as a owner of that small place, which probably would have given you probably some good income anyway, and that would be the end of it. You could have done that. Isn't it so? Am I right about that?
I could have done that,
but you didn't.
But I didn't, and one of the reasons I didn't was I didn't feel secure enough. So the way the market works is money as easy as it comes, sometimes it can go just as easy.
Yes.
And you're always trying to fend off the next competitor.
You're right.
The next person that has a better work ethic than you, or a better idea, or a better product. And the idea is always to keep moving forward, to keep thinking.
Yes.
And it's not always possible to keep working for 16 hours a day.
Exactly.
7 days a week.
Exactly.
You can do it for a short time.
Right.
But it certainly wasn't my life goal to do that.
Right.
So as time went along, I was looking for other ways to supplement my income. And one of the ways that I found to supplement my income was to grow sites, was to find other businesses, was to find other ways of, working smarter, as they call it.
Yes. So you had to take some risk to come out of that one gas station and the kiosk, and to invest money into other stores, other businesses. How did you deal with the risk factor?
Well, having the one site made me kind of nervous. What if a competitor opened across the street? What if there was construction on the road?
Yeah.
What if the state came and widened the road and took, put my station as part of the road and took over that location? I would be helpless, homeless, and that thought kind of stuck with me, and I just wanted to diversify my portfolio. And as part of diversifying my portfolio, I wanted to be in different segments, on different highways, on different businesses, and wanted to make sure that no matter what happens, I always had an income stream coming in that helped me take care of my needs.
Right. So that's it. So in the book that we want to write, one of the general ideas also would be about security, how to get into a state of security through entrepreneurship. Which is what people who are trying to do, by working at different organizations as employees, and then they're engineers, or there might be employees, or they're nurse practitioners, or I don't know, whatever, they are working in different offices or different banks, and then there's a big structure there, and because each person has a demand for security. Everybody wants to be secure. They want to be financially secure so that they don't have to worry about where the next dollar is going to come from, and they definitely don't want to wind up in a situation when all the money is gone and everything. They're in a devastating situation, particularly with more responsibilities with the family and children and those kinds of things. So what can you say about security in both of these instances? Think about this for a moment. You've got group of people that are employees working for an organization, so they have a sense of security. They're working in that way, and maybe those organizations are pretty solid, so assuming their jobs are secure. Then you have another group of people that are new entrepreneurs with certain investments, and they are really not in that state of mental security, because there's a lot of change, there's a lot of time, effort, money has been invested, the returns haven't come in yet. They may not even come. We don't know. There's some risk in that. so the entire mindset of a new entrepreneur is of a different kind than someone who's gotten into a secure job. It's a tremendously different, very, very, very different type, and almost like a certain courage, certain qualities are required to be in that entrepreneur mindset in the onset stage, in the beginning stage, which is what you were going through. And then of course you didn't want to work 16 hours a day and all that, but you were in that state of mind. I mean, you could have decided that, I'll just sell my business and I'll go and work as a computer engineer or do something like that. I've had enough of this. I can't deal with this anymore. Many people would have done that even. So could you say something more about this, about what I just described here?
So when you work for somebody, there's a false sense of security. There's a belief that nothing's going to happen because you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yes.
But in reality, you're only one management decision away from being let go.
Right.
What you do sometimes has nothing to do with that management decision.
Right.
They decide to lay off whole departments, or they decide to change directions.
Yes.
Or they decide to change corporate structures, and you may be gone for no fault of yours.
Right.
And then that's a hard concept for people to understand.
Yeah, most people don't even get that at all, but that's true though. Yes.
Right. They believe that as long as they do what they're supposed to do, nothing's going to happen to them or their job. While in reality, that is not how corporations or capitalism works. As you get older, you get paid more, of course, with raises over time and all that good stuff. But there's also a younger crowd waiting to take over your position and do the same work for that cheaper. So, some people just, even though they understand and know that might happen, just close their eyes and just hope for the best.
Right, exactly. Go ahead.
And entrepreneurs, in the initial phases, there is insecurity, of course. You put all your eggs in one basket to start with, and they haven't started hatching yet. So there's a period of time, it's like a grass where you're going up and they're either steady or going down, and at some point, an entrepreneur will cross that. The security that the entrepreneurship offers will be much superior. Because indeed, you can control your own destiny. Even if something happens that you cannot control, you can pivot, you can move to other, do other things. So entrepreneurship is not just what you do, it's a frame of mind.
Right. It's very, very powerful. It's very, very powerful, to actually even sit and visualize, because I'm just thinking about the audience that would be reading this book, and if they can understand, from the book, and then of course all the other supplementary materials we would develop, that there's a glory to entrepreneurship like none other, that there is a type of freedom like none other. There is also the security like none other, because you could potentially, if the business is successful and it's gotten into a pattern of making good amount of money and there's expansion, based on the demand and the quality of the service and all that, there's like a natural growth that is occurring on itself. It's like it's feeding on itself. Money begins to feed on itself and grow. It's energy, of course, and it begins to keep growing on its on the foundation. So it's almost like the goal of the entrepreneur. One of the goals would be to get to a point where there is all the debt and everything is paid. Now money is saved, and now money begins to grow just based on its existence. And then when the entrepreneur sees that money is working for itself, money is growing by itself, there is again, this goes back to the vitamin M idea. Vitamin M is generated mentally, psychologically, energetically, and then of course that connects with physical, personal development in the 12 dimensions. It goes back to the first book, So that's so in my mind that's the bridge actually. Would you say something about this? Do you agree with this, first of all?
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely agree with it. There's no other way. Entrepreneurship it's a proven successful way to get you to where you want to go with security and a future. There's nothing like entrepreneurship.
Yes, exactly. So the point that you made was to not give up on the business. What if somebody said to you that even when there are difficulties or their markets are down, all that, what should someone do? I mean, is there a point where a person should give up on it?
There is a point when one should give up.